Hello there. Welcome to my show, COVID-19 update by Heerak for September 2nd, 2020. Yeah, it's 5-month anniversary. 5 months have gone by. Yeah, yeah, children love mommy. For 5 months, many mothers have managed to keep their children safe. This show started on April 2nd, and so this is the fifth month anniversary. And unfortunately, unlike March, um, a lot of children are getting COVID-19, and a lot of babies are getting COVID-19 as well. So in New York City, in April and May, if you go back and watch my episodes, um, there were several children who came down with strange inflammation. So that started several weeks into the crisis in New York. So I'm calling that New York virus because it kind of started in New York in the American context, where these children were suffering inflammation and in large numbers. So for a few days, one child was dying per day. But this was towards the tail end of, um, you know, April, May, or March, April death sequence in New York. So COVID-19 most likely mutated during the weeks as many people got COVID and died from COVID. And originally, babies were not really getting COVID and dying from COVID. So virus mutated to attack more hosts. Um, Unfortunately, now that it exists, it's a phenomena, not just in New York, but throughout the United States of America. In all 50 states, mothers can expect their children to get this inflammation through COVID infection from their parents or from their teachers at school. And so that's a serious problem that we are going to face in the flu season that's coming in a few weeks. And flu season can last up to like 6 months from very beginning to very end. So most likely thousands of children will die from COVID-19 in every state. We know that COVID-19 kills children because we've seen it in New York. As I said, towards the tail end of the first peak, one child was basically dying per day in New York. But it was at the very tail end of New York crisis. So the New York virus started killing babies late, and then it started spreading. And there were several cases in Virginia, Northern Virginia, and DC. Um, but then, there was a slight dying down of cases, and then there was a spike up in June. And during the summer months, June, July, August, children and baby have gotten COVID-19 and have died from it. And in the summer, if this is happening in the summer, we can expect that during fall and winter and early spring, a lot of children will die from COVID-19 directly, as well as through this New York virus impact. mutated versions that cause serious inflammation. So scientists really don't know exactly how children will die from COVID. Are they going to die from respiratory problems like not being able to breathe? Or are they going to suffer from kind of infection like inflammation that causes system shutdown? Healthcare experts and scientists really do not know exactly how this is going to play itself out in the flu season. So all the scientists, nurses, doctors, healthcare professionals are walking in the dark when it comes to what will happen to the children in the flu season. I'm Heerak Christian Kim, independent candidate for U.S. Congress in Virginia's 8th District. And I'm predicting that we're going to have at least 1 million children, children defined by U.S. law from age 0 to age 18. So we'll have at least 1 million children die. Yeah, so that's my prediction. So I'm predicting minimum 3 million will die. So 33% will be children. So that's my prediction. Hopefully I'm wrong. Let's see. The flu season, as I said, goes from fall to winter to spring. So it's like 6 months long where you could get flu. I got my flu like middle of March. Yeah. And suffered through it for weeks. And it developed into acute bronchitis. And it could have developed into pneumonia. Thankfully it did not. But I suffered a lot. Had problem breathing during the flu season. During the flu, suffering influenza A suffering, as well as while I was suffering from acute bronchitis. And I had the flu shot. So flu shot doesn't protect you 100%, unfortunately. So yeah. So yeah, this winter we're going to see a lot of children die. It's unfortunate, but that's going to happen. One reason is because there are schools open. If the schools are open, children are going to get infected with COVID. And if you can get infected with COVID, you can die from COVID. It's not like summer where some children got infected and they suffer mild symptoms. It's not going to be like that in the winter. You can expect 100% of the children who get COVID to suffer seriously during flu season. So let's say 1 million children get COVID, they could all die from COVID. And children are particularly vulnerable to cold and flu. And elderly and children are vulnerable. From March to May, the blessing that we had was children were not getting COVID. Elderly were. So elderly were dying in large numbers, but children were not. The children just were not getting COVID-19. But that changed as COVID-19 mutated and started infecting children towards the tail end of COVID-19, first peak. But now the first peak introduced us to New York virus. Now that's everywhere in all 50 states. So in all 50 states, babies will die from this. Like babies up to like 5, 6 will die from this, maybe even up to like 10 or 12. And now young people are getting COVID-19, and I'm calling that the Florida virus because that's where it kind of started. A lot of young people getting COVID-19 started in Florida, which seems to be a different strain than the strain that infects children, what I'm calling New York virus. Yeah, there's over 40 strains, and now China identified at least 30 strains in January or February. So now there may be over 100 strains. We don't know. Scientists do not know. Scientists do not know anything definitive about COVID-19. It's possible for over 100 million people around the world to die from COVID during flu season. And since the death rate right now for America is at 25%, if 100 million people die in the world, 25 million people can die in America if the death rate ratio is maintained. And there's no reason for us to doubt that the ratio would not be maintained. Yeah, so it's looking bad. You know, right now it's the calm before the storm because it's the summer, but we still have like 1,000 people die per day. In the last 24 hours, over 1,000 people died as well. Previous 24-hour period, over 1,000 died. You know, so yeah, that's happening. You know, 1,000 average dying, that's happening. So yeah, yeah, it's bad. Now, you know, colleges have opened, and I wanted to showcase University of Alabama because within a couple of weeks, they had over 1,000 cases of COVID. It's a good example of what can happen to colleges that open. Every college should be expecting this. You can have 1,000 students get COVID in the flu season. Out of the 1,000, you can have easily over 500 die. Yeah, because during flu season, your immune system is weak. Even the healthiest people, their immune system is weaker in the flu season. So if you can get COVID, you can die from COVID. That's something that you have to be aware of. So at University of Alabama in middle of August, if they had 1,500 students, college age students 18 to 22, get COVID, in winter, half of them can die. That's possible in the winter during flu season. And that could happen in every college. Every college can have over 1,000 infections. And, you know, many of them can die. Hundreds of them can die. So if you add up all the colleges, you can imagine how many college students aged 18 to 22 would die in America. You know, as I said, that's Florida virus, you know, that targets the age group that's like 20-ish, 20 to 30 age group. So COVID-19 is a living organism, and its purpose for existing is to infect and kill people, right? COVID-19. There are billions of people in the world, so COVID-19 is not worried about wiping out the whole world, right? So its primary goal is to adapt to its environment, to infect as many people as possible, and to kill as many people as possible. That's COVID-19's primary purpose for existing. So that's happening in New York. Eventually, COVID-19 strategically developed to infect little babies and started killing one baby per day towards the tail end of the first peak in New York. And so you can expect in New York in this flu season from the very beginning to have one baby die per day, easily. So I think New York should expect this. And Dr. Fauci has mentioned, and WHO, CDC, you know, health organizations have, and experts have mentioned that you can get COVID several times in a year. So if you get COVID in August, you can still get it in November and die from it. So you should expect that. Like college students who got COVID in Alabama in August can get COVID again, different strain, or maybe even the same strain again in November and die from the second cycle. And scientists do not know if when you are infected with COVID-19, that there's a residual, kind of like herpes. Once you get herpes, it doesn't go away from your body. It's in your body forever. And then when you have stressful situations or drastic temperature changes, latent or dormant herpes virus can flare up, causing all kinds of bodily problems. No one knows if this happens with COVID-19. No one knows yet. But we'll find out most likely during the flu season. So even if you do not get reinfected with another strain, it's possible that COVID-19 is like a herpes virus, where if you have it, it's in your system forever. So you may lie dormant, but certain environmental or personal triggers can trigger it, and then it'll flare up again to the extent that you can suffer and maybe even die from it. The inflammatory nature of COVID-19 seems to indicate it's not simply a respiratory virus. COVID-19 has been known to give strokes in 20 to 30 age groups and kill them through these strokes. Some people have become paralyzed. So it's not a simple respiratory virus. Scientists really do not know exactly how COVID-19 damages your body systems. One thing that New York experts maintain is that COVID-19 can damage every single system in your body, every single system. Which means it's not a simple respiratory virus. Healthcare experts do not know what it is. So they're calling it a respiratory virus, but that may be too simplistic. It's like typecasting something, and it's not really true. You know, it may not be a primarily respiratory virus. Some strains may not be either. So there's a complexity, because if there is like 100 different strains, and some strains are acting more like respiratory virus, some are acting more like blood coagulation problem causing virus. No one really knows exactly what's going on. No one knows how many strains there are right now in the world. World Health Organization is saying that COVID-19 is forever, and it's probably true. Yeah, probably only God himself can stop it, but you know, you can't count on that. As you know, Black Plague killed 1/3 of the world's population. It does happen. Smallpox have killed, wiped out whole races and nations. There were hundreds of Indian nations, right? They're wiped out, clean by disease that Europeans carried with them. You know, they weren't sick themselves, but they were carriers, and then it wiped out a whole nation of people. Latin America did not become Christian because Christian soldiers were so good at fighting so that they defeated all these armies, you know. Disease wiped out most people, you know. Yeah, if it weren't for the disease, you know, conquistadors may not have been able to occupy South America, Central America. Some say, you know, it's God's blessing for Catholic Europe. God wanted to bless Catholic Europe and punish heathen Native Americans who were having child sacrifices, as you know, Aztecs and Incas. You know, they engaged in all kinds of sacrificial practices, and there were child sacrifices, kind of like abortion. So Christian theologians have said, you know, God brought disease through Catholic conquistadors and wiped out whole races, whole ethnic groups, whole nations, as divine punishment for engaging in abortion. You know, child sacrifice is a type of abortion, right? Yeah, I mean, you know, but the disease did not kill the conquistadors. So God chooses whom he wants to kill, right? God could have created a disease that killed Catholic conquistadors along with Native Americans, but God did not do that. God kept the European conquistadors, Catholic conquistadors, safe and killed the Native Americans. Yeah. God's judgment is very strategically targeted. As we see in America, we have a lot of death in America because homosexuality is proliferating in America and it's legal by national law. So spiritually speaking, from the vantage point of Christian theology, God wants to punish nations that protect homosexuals, lesbians, bisexuals, transgender people. So from a spiritual angle, from a Christian angle, we can see COVID-19 as punishment by God of American Christians for protecting gay rights. So God's going to kill a lot of Christians during the flu season because God wants homosexuality illegalized. That's clear in Deuteronomy, Leviticus, Numbers, throughout the New Testament. Early church is ordered not to socially befriend or associate or commune with, fellowship with homosexuals in any shape or form. So we see that God wanted the same policy of anti-gay agenda for the believers from ancient Israelites throughout the Old Testament through the New Testament church. I noticed, Falls Church Presbyterian Church is flying the homosexual flag, gay flag. That's absolutely wrong. God doesn't want you to do that. So take it down. Yeah, God's definitely going to punish your church members through COVID-19. A lot of people in your church are going to die from COVID-19 because you're flying that gay flag. Because it's in violation of Romans chapter 1, Deuteronomy, Leviticus. You need to take down the gay flag, rainbow flag. In every church who's flying it in Falls Church, Virginia, you need to take it down or you're going to jeopardize the lives of your children and your elderly, as well as young people, your children 0 to 18, and people in their 20s and 30s, because now we have New York virus and Florida virus that's killing. Now, if you want to jeopardize the lives of your children at your church, your 20s and 30s at your church, and your elderly at your church, fly the gay flag because you can count on the angels of death visiting your church members through COVID-19. As I said, God is very strategic in his divine punishment. And I've given you two examples. One example is when Catholic conquistadors came to Christianize America, God helped them by wiping out all the warriors who would have killed the European conquistadors by disease. Because they died from disease, they could not fight a war. Catholic conquistadors were able to occupy all of South America, Central America, North America, to Christianize it. That's why every single country in Latin America is Christian, because God uses angels of death to advance the gospel. That's been the case for 2,000 years of Christian history. And so that's not going to change. And God uses angels of death to uphold this law. So I foresee a lot of people dying in Falls Church, Virginia from COVID-19, children especially, and elderly, because their church is flying gay flag. God's not going to tolerate that. Romans chapter 1 is very clear. God promises wrath of God for homosexuality. So when Falls Church Presbyterian Church, Falls Church United Methodist churches, several of them I've seen, gay flag type of thing. It might not have been in the flag form. It might have been like on a poster or a board. But you gotta wipe out all the gay flags from Falls Church, or you're gonna experience tremendous number of deaths. Fairfax County is number 1 for COVID-19 deaths, as you know, in Virginia. There's a reason for that. Because of the proliferation of homosexuality, protection of gay rights, and flying of gay flags. So God has strategically targeted Fairfax County for COVID-19 death. And we're gonna see this again in the coming flu season. You're going to have a tremendous number of people in Fairfax County die because there are too many gay flags flying in Fairfax County. It's very simple. Romans chapter 1 promises that God will send wrath of God for homosexuality. Spiritually speaking, COVID-19 is not killing anybody. In African countries, nobody's dying. And in these African countries, homosexuality is illegal. There's death penalty for homosexuals. COVID-19 is not killing Arabic people, Muslims, who observe the law of God. Whether you're Jew, Christian, or Muslim, you have to keep the 10 Commandments. But Muslims have been faithful keeping in 10 Commandments and administering death penalty to LGBTQ people. Therefore, God has blessed Muslim nations, have not killed them, have spared their lives. Because God wants all nations, regardless of their Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Hindu, Buddhist, atheist, Celtic, to illegalize homosexuality. That's universal. Romans chapter 1 said, law of God is written in nature. So no one is without excuse. So we're not talking about going to eternal damnation in hell now. We're talking about whether you suffer and die on earth. You need to keep 10 Commandments, especially against gay marriage, homosexuality, in order to be able to survive on earth. As I said, God's punishment is targeted. And the example of conquistadors coming to America, they should have been all killed by warriors of Native Americans, but disease wiped them out. You know, it's a numbers game in a war. You know, you need the soldiers to fight the wars. But if they're dead from disease, then, you know, you don't have soldiers to fight the war. Yeah, so you have to understand, example of conquistadors and example of a lot of people dying in America, those two examples provide evidence. You need to take down your gay flags in Falls Church, especially on church property, because that's God's home. It's not your property, it's God's property. Or you can count on many people dying from COVID-19 in Fairfax County, Falls Church. You should count on it because God's alive. God gave you Romans chapter 1, and you think God doesn't exist, that you could do whatever you want. Falls Church, Virginia churches, Presbyterian, United Methodist. I assure you God exists. I assure you God will keep his promise he made in Romans chapter 1 to send the wrath of God for homosexuality. So every member in your church should expect the wrath of God if you keep flying the homosexual flag. It doesn't matter if they're not homosexuals themselves. They will be punished like homosexuals because you protect gay rights. That is the principle of Sodom and Gomorrah. So, yeah, I expect a lot of death in Falls Church and Fairfax County from COVID-19. Doesn't matter how much you social distance. Doesn't matter how much you wear your mask. A lot of you are going to die from COVID-19, unfortunately, because your pastor and elders are flying the gay flag. Leave the church and go to a church that wants homosexuality legalized. When the wrath of God came over Egypt, every firstborn were killed, including Israel's firstborn, if you did not put the blood of the lamb on the doorpost. These symbols are important. Flying gay flag is like not putting on the blood of the lamb on the door. When the angels of death passes through Falls Church, they will target to kill through COVID-19 Christian families in Falls Church who go to churches that fly gay flag. Don't say I didn't warn you. As you know, I'm an expert theologian, and I am giving you my professional expert opinion as a theologian who's published and presented many theological treatises, academic papers in academic conferences throughout the world. That this is my expert opinion, that from a theological angle, Falls Church and Fairfax County can count on many, many dead people from COVID-19. Yeah, you can reject expert opinion. In healthcare, we have a saying against medical advice, AMA. You could go AMA. Sure, go AMA against medical advice, or go AEA against expert advice. I'm giving you expert advice so that you can survive COVID-19 from a spiritual angle, as angels of death pass through United States during the flu season. But yeah, you could reject my expert advice as a theologian who trains Christian pastors in India to oppose gay marriage, to legalize gay marriage in India. Obviously, I actively teach that because that's required by the Holy Bible. Yeah, I mean, reject my expert advice. You will see a lot of people die. Yeah, it's your freedom. Like, I'm going to tell you, after we pass the flu season, which I told you so, yeah, I'm going to be saying that. Yeah, I mean, if you're in a church that's flying gay flag, you should leave right away. Don't even stay one more day. Yeah, because if you don't have the blood of the Lamb in your doorpost, when angels of death passes through your home, you're gonna die. You're gonna have firstborn die. Yeah, that was the 10th plague of Egypt in the book of Exodus, right? Yeah, count on it. Yeah, see if I'm wrong. You'll see I'm right. Because I'm an expert. I'm an expert theologian. And I'm just providing you with expert opinion to help you survive COVID-19. As I said, you could reject my expert advice, but you have to suffer the consequences of rejecting expert advice, obviously. And that would mean your children, 0 to 18, dying from COVID-19 during flu season. We know it kills. We know COVID-19 kills children and babies because they've killed dozens in the summer. In the flu season, they'll kill thousands, tens of thousands. Yeah, you'll see what I'm saying. Yeah, I'll point it out to you when it starts happening. I'll say, yeah, remember I told you that? Yeah, I'll point it out to you. It's coming in a few weeks. See, for you right now, you can't fathom it because it's not happening right now, right? For you, it's like, oh, in Korean, we call that 설마. 설마 means, oh, it's not going to happen, highly doubtful. Yeah, it's not happening now, so you're doubting it. When it starts happening and thousands of children start dying, I'll point it out to you, and then, it's very real. It's happening all over where you are in Falls Church. So you can't deny that it's happening, right? The COVID-19 is killing your children in Falls Church because your churches are flying gay flag. Yeah, I mean, I'll say I told you so. I told you not to fly that thing. Yeah, but, you didn't listen. So, yeah, I mean, what can I do? All I can do is tell you what the Bible says you should do. Whether you do it or not is up to you. If you do it, you're going to, you may survive. There are other factors, that there are other factors, right? Like if you support abortion, that could be a problem too. But yeah, I mean, but, one thing at a time, right? One thing at a time. I'm driving through Falls Church, Virginia. I see all these gay flags in front of houses of God. These churches in Falls Church have not learned their lesson yet from the first peak when most number of Virginia's COVID-19 death was in Fairfax County because of its proliferation of homosexuality. You can expect 10 to 100 times more death this flu season. Just wait and see. Because God's going to strategically make sure he punishes those who support gay rights. Because he promised in Romans chapter 1 to send the wrath of God. He's going to find a way to keep his promise. He's going to use COVID-19. He's going to make it airborne if he needs to. Many strands airborne, just so that he could get COVID and die from it. Watch what I'm saying. God's the creator. God can do whatever he wants with his creation. God can mutate any virus he wants. God can do whatever he wants. Yeah, so just expect a lot of death in Falls Church and Fairfax County from COVID-19. A lot of children will die in Fairfax County. A lot of your children will die from COVID-19 in Falls Church. I guarantee it. Yeah, because God acts in a predictable way. If you read Old Testament and New Testament, I'm an expert theologian. That's why I'm offering you my expert theological opinion. Because that's my expertise. God acts in very predictable ways so that even before God actually acts, you can predict what God's going to do. history. I'm an expert historian as well. I was trained as a historian at UCLA. And whenever I study history, I could see the patterns. I see the patterns that confirms what I'm saying right now. You can predict what's going to happen. There are patterns that become fulfilled. And from a theological angle, obviously that is God acting in history. So Christians call that his story history. His plus story equals history. So take down your gay flags from false churches, because that's the way you're going to kill false church children. Angering God, not obeying Romans 1. How dare you jeopardize the lives of false church children by flying gay flags when Falls Church, Fairfax County was #1 in COVID-19 death in the first week? How dare you jeopardize lives of Fairfax County residents like that? You're evil. The pastors of churches who fly those gay rainbow flags, you're evil because you saw how many people died in Fairfax County from COVID-19. We're still flying COVID-19, inviting gay flags. You're evil. Every single pastor of a church that flies gay flag is evil. Yeah, you need to leave that church. Because Romans chapter 1 is very clear. They have no respect for your life and your children's life. You need to leave that church right away. Yeah, I created this show to save your life and your children's life from COVID-19. And it disturbs me that these churches, the elders, deacons, and pastors are flying gay flag on their church property in Falls Church Presbyterian Church, Falls Church, several United Methodist churches. Shame on you for jeopardizing the lives of Falls Church children and residents like that. Shame on you. Read Romans chapter 1. Literally, you're not God. You're under the law of God. God will enforce his law throughout the world. That's what he does. He is very predictable in the way he acts. God. Shame on you. You haven't learned your lesson. It's like 10 plagues of Egypt. Falls Church, Presbyterian Church, pastor, elder, deacons have not learned their lesson. It's just like Pharaoh. God sends plague after plague, and they don't learn the lesson, right? Just read through Exodus. Shame on you, Falls Church, Presbyterian Church. Shame on you, United Methodist churches of Falls Church with rainbow colors. Shame on you. You're jeopardizing the lives of children during COVID-19 flu season. Shame on you. Yeah, I mean, I created this show to save your life, your children's life, and it disturbs me tremendously that these churches, so-called churches and Falls Church are inviting God's wrath by flying gay flags, coloring posters with rainbow colors. That's how you invite God's wrath upon Falls Church. Shame on you. Every Falls Church resident should rise up against that. Call the churches to take down the rainbow flag. If you're in that church, you should leave. But if you're a resident of Falls Church, telephone the pastor to take down the flag and tell him it's offensive. Do whatever you can to make sure that deacons, elders, and pastor takes down the rainbow flag. Because when the wrath of comes, when angels of death comes through Virginia during flu season, when God sees the rainbow flags besodding his property, God's houses, God may just flip out and unleash the angels of death upon the city of Falls Church, so that COVID-19 mutates into airborne viruses and starts killing many, many, many people. We don't know how many people are going to die from COVID-19 in Falls Church, but just know that a lot of people are going to die. Because you do not fly a rainbow flag in God's own home and expect to get away with it. Shame on you for jeopardizing the lives of residents in Falls Church. Shame on you. Because Romans chapter 1 is clearly in print. Everybody with first grade education can read it. Everybody with third grade education can understand it without any problem. Yeah. So University of Alabama, there's like 1,000 people getting infected. It's just it's a shameful thing. So a lot of people are wearing their mask. Remember the good old days when nobody wore their masks? Yeah, those good old days are gone. This condition may be permanent. Look at the patterns of death. The United States in April 2nd only had 5,911 deaths. This is why I'm saying we missed the flu season, basically. Think about it. Flu season starts in the fall, goes into the spring. We started this show on April 2nd. We only had 5,911 deaths in America, all 50 states. We basically missed the flu season. And we were at the tail end of it because April is kind of like tail end of flu season. Flu season starts in the fall, goes through the winter, goes through the spring. So so majority of the death in New York happened after April 2nd. Do you see what I'm saying? Basically, majority of the death in New York happened in 1 month, the month of April. 1 month, they had like 30,000 deaths. Now we're going to have 6 months of flu season. So let's say we see a pattern like New York. 6 times 30,000 is what? 180,000 deaths in the 6 months. If we follow the same patterns as we did in the first peak. But generally, second peak is far worse. Dr. Fauci has said it. Dr. Han has said it. Dr. Gottlieb, Dr. Sanjay Gupta. Poor Dr. Sanjay Gupta, his relatives may be dying in India. A lot of people are dying in India right now. Yeah, I feel for you, Dr. Sanjay Gupta. I mean, I have friends in India, so it pains me to see all these deaths in India. But yeah, India is going to have a lot of death as well. But after India, there aren't that many deaths in Asia. Yeah, it's just India has a lot of death. Yeah, so yeah, it's a serious problem. So this is why my show is so valuable to you, because you probably forgot what happened. So I need to remind you what happened. Human memory forgets easily, so human beings don't remember. Like you're looking back and you're like, oh, 30,000 people died in New York in the first peak, so second peak is only about 30,000 will die. That's probably how you're thinking. What you're not looking at are the figures. Facts and figures are important. Because truth is based on facts and figures. Look at the facts and figures. On April 2nd, there were only 5,911 total United States deaths. Total. In the whole country. In all 50 states. So New York had over 30,000 die in the first peak. So most of them died in 1 month of the flu season, tail end of it, not the height of the flu season. Now, New York is going to experience the height of the flu season now. It's going to go from the beginning, crescendo, So, yeah, I'm predicting 1 million people will die in New York State this cycle. Yeah. As I said, anywhere from 3 million to 25 million Americans can die in this flu season. So fly your for rainbow flag and see what happens. We may hit 25 million dead people at the end of the flu season because you're going to anger God. I give you expert opinion as a theologian, as a theological expert. That's the way to raise the COVID-19 death. The peak in June, as I pointed out in June, came because Kavanaugh and U.S. Supreme Court made a judgment protecting gay rights in the workplace. Yeah, that's when the peak happened. Because God hates homosexuals. God has always hated homosexuals. That's why he never sent missionaries to Sodom and Gomorrah. He just sent death. He refused to send missionaries to Sodom and Gomorrah because that's how much God hates homosexuals. So all of you Christian pastors saying God loves homosexuals, you're liars. There's nowhere in the Bible that says God loves homosexuals. You're lying. You're liars. Yeah, there are a lot of liars among evangelical churches who say God loves homosexuals. Where do you get that? You're making things up. God did not send a missionary to Sodom and Gomorrah. There is no proof that God loves homosexuals. In fact, there is preponderance of proof God hates homosexuals. So where do you go off making things up that's not in the Bible? Where in the Bible does it say God loves homosexuals? Show me the verse. Yeah, you're liars. I consider all of you evangelical pastors who say God loves homosexuals. You're liars. You are the problem. You are the problem why God's punishment is resting upon America, because you're teaching falsehood lies to your church members that God loves homosexuals. That's a lie. Why do you think 1,000 people are dying per day in the summer month of August? Because you're lying to your church members and saying God loves homosexuals when he does not. Because of your lies, 1,000 people are dying per day in America. It's your fault. Because you're Christian gospel preachers and you're lying to people. You're not preaching the Bible, you're preaching what you think. You're preaching world ideology. You're teaching people to fight racism when they should be fighting homosexuality. You are representatives of the world. You are servants of the world. You're not servants of God. You're not preaching what God wants you to preach. You're preaching what Trump wants to preach. You're preaching what Biden wants you to preach. You're not preaching what Jesus wants you to preach. Shame on you, Republicans. Shame on you, Democrats. You think politics is more important than Jesus? Shame on you. Donald Trump is not our savior. Jesus Christ is. Joe Biden is not our savior. Jesus Christ is. And you worship Joe Biden like he's a god. You worship Trump like he's a god. Shame on you. You shall not have other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself an idol. First 2 commandments in the 10 commandments. You are breaking first 2 commandments. Follow the word. Follow the script. Follow the Bible, Romans chapter 1. Then there's no problem. You keep going off the script. Yeah. You evangelical pastors, you need to repent, because the judgment of God is coming to you and your family for violating the gospel. Follow the script. And script is the word of God, the Holy Bible. Yeah, so April 2nd, we only had 5,911 deaths. And we were all aghast and shocked at the death that was happening in Europe, and we quickly surpassed that. Look at May 2nd. We surpassed every European nation. Became number 1 in death in a period of 1 month. Yeah, that's when all the death in Europe happened. 1 month. And then death continued. Yeah. Yeah, so it went up to 106,180. And we thought it was going to trail up, but obviously when Kavanaugh, the Supreme Court Justice, championed LGBTQ plus rights, God got angry and just smacked America with a second peak. Yeah, thank you, Kavanaugh. Thank you, United States Supreme Court, for giving us a second peak at the beginning of summer. We could have been like China with 0 COVID-19 deaths for 4 months of summer, having fun, going to the beach, not wearing a mask, not even having the social distance. I mean, you should probably still wear a mask, and because there's still cases around. But we could have been like China, where there's 0 cases and 0 death. When there are cases, obviously you still have to wear a mask. But when there's 0 cases and 0 death, I mean, it's like it doesn't exist in your country. And that's how China was for 4 months. That could have been us. But no, Kevin, you had to to offend God and piss God off by giving LGBTQ rights in the workplace, didn't you? United Supreme Court had to piss God off and grant LGBTQ rights in the workplace, didn't you? So we got second peak. And I give you my expert opinion as a theologian with facts and figures. Shame on you, United States Supreme Court, for giving us our second peak of COVID death. Now we're entering third peak. And I talked about second and third peak. Just watch my shows from previous weeks and months. I said this will be second peak, and third peak is going to start. It's going to start. I'm always right. You know, only reason why my predictions in terms of numbers of death are not achieved is because people start social distancing, wearing masks. They reduce the number of deaths that could happen. Like a lot of families did not take a vacation because of this show, because I told them not to take a vacation away from their home for a prolonged period of time if they can help it. You know, I encourage you to go take trips, you know, go to the beach and have fun. You know, drive day trips. I encourage you to take day trips. If you have a summer home, by all means, drive to your summer home. That's your home. It's like your family going to your summer home, and you know, it's safe. You have your private beach. There's no problem there. But you know, if you're driving and you're going to like Epcot Center or you know some kind of a like tourist set concentrated area, or if you're flying somewhere, then there's a lot of dangers there. That's why we had a lot of cases, right, in like tourist areas like California, Texas, and Florida, right? Summer tourism destinations. Yeah, you need to get with the program. If our country is going to survive COVID-19, then you need to get with the program. Like, you know, it's not normal for 1,000 people to die per day, right? In summer, like June to July, we still had what? 22,000 death increase, 128,684 on July 2nd. Thank you, Mr. Kavanaugh. Trump appointed Supreme Court Justice. You've just destroyed our summer by granting LGBTQ rights. Thank you, Kavanaugh, the Trump appointee. This is why I don't fully trust Trump. If Trump listened to what I said and appointed a fundamentalist Baptist Christian to be Supreme Court Justice, we would not be suffering this peak. But he appointed some liberal, Oxford-educated guy who pushed LGBTQ rights, bringing us into second peak. And I speak as an expert theologian, understanding predictability of violation of God's law in Romans chapter 1. You break it, God's going to enforce his law through COVID-19 or through other acts of God. It's expected because God exists. You act like God doesn't exist. That's your problem. You don't believe. You need to recognize that God exists. And if God exists, it's going to act in patterns that are shown in the Holy Bible. And that's what he's doing. Exactly, that's what he's doing. August 2nd, we have 154,841 deaths, right? Death rate is increasing. Yeah, I blame Kavanaugh for second peak. Kavanaugh and the Supreme Court. They should be single-handedly blamed for a second peak. We didn't need to have a second peak if you did not piss God off. You pissed God off by giving LGBTQ rights in June. We did not have to suffer through June if you didn't piss God off. You know how many nations have zero death in summer throughout the world? You think China's the only country that has zero death in 4 months? There are many nations that have zero death in 4 months. What's happening in America is not normal. As I said, just like when Catholic conquistadors who love Jesus, who are devout Catholics, who worship God and wanted to advance the Catholic faith throughout America and converting heathens, infidels, God helped them by wiping out Native Americans through diseases so they could Christianize the whole continent. That's what God does. God helped them through act of God. God targets through his angels of death. God acts in a patterned way. I told you. Bible shows us how God acts. That's why you need experts. And I'm an expert, and I give you my expert advice. It's like you're going to reject all the expert advice your doctor gives. You're going to end up dead before your time. A lot of people die before 40 because they don't listen to their doctor. Expert opinion is important. And I give you expert opinion as an expert theologian. You should take my expert advice so you don't die before your time. Right? Yeah. Now we're what on September 2nd, and we have what 185,704 deaths. Look at this. China had 0 death in June, July, August, and September. Why do we have to have all these deaths? I'm trying to prevent these deaths. Do you listen? I know you're watching this show, Kavanaugh. You should listen. You know, it is, you know, it's upsetting because all these deaths can be avoided. All these deaths can be avoided. If you follow the word of God, submit to the law of God, God the creator who created COVID, he might have created through human agents if it's a biological weapon, but nonetheless, you know, everything that is created in the world is created by the agency of God. And we could talk about the theological ramifications of that another time. Yeah. But God is the creator. If COVID-19 mutates into airborne, none of your masks will protect you in the winter. You can easily have 50 million Americans die. If there are 100 strains of COVID and if all of them go airborne, your mask will not protect you. You're going to die. I'm trying to prevent a catastrophe from happening here. God can mutate whatever he wants anytime he wants. You need to listen to the word of God if you want to survive COVID-19. You act like you're God. You need to read Romans chapter 1. Yeah, China has 0 death. It's a country of over 1.2 billion people. Our country has 330 million people, and we have 1,000 people dying per month in summer. Yeah, it's because gay rights. Gay rights is the problem. Kavanaugh granting LGBTQ rights in the workplace, that's the reason why we are suffering, why you are suffering from second peak of COVID. From a theological expert angle, that is 100% CERN. From a theological expert angle, there's no doubt about that. Yeah. So we are heading into flu season. And I see these gay flags, rainbow flags flying in Falls Church. What's up with that? What's wrong with you people in Falls Church? Are you going to let these gay flags fly, marking your city as a target for angels of death? Are you crazy? Well, you think it doesn't matter that these gay flags are flying in your city? Angels of death will come through. You know, I'm talking from a spiritual, biblical perspective. Virginia, it's going to target your city. You know how many people died in Fairfax County during last week? It's the most in Virginia. Yeah, you got to learn from your past, from your history, or your history will repeat itself. It repeats itself again and again and again. You got to learn from your mistakes. Yeah. COVID-19 cases, as we know, have been increasing between 40,000 to 80,000 during the summer, right? So that's something that all of you know. We are now at 6,113,160. Look, in April 2nd, we had 244,678 cases. Do you see what I mean when we dodged the flu season? Yes, April is still technically tail end of flu season, but on April 2nd, we only had 244,678 cases. We basically dodged the flu season. This year, we're going to experience the full brunt of the flu season. That's why I'm 100% sure that we can expect 3 million minimum death. We can expect up to around 25 million death, but it's possible that 100 million Americans can die if COVID-19 mutates to becoming airborne. None of your masks will work. None of them will work. Well, N95 masks could work, but you won't have enough of them. Yeah, you need a lot of masks. You can't just wear the same N95 mask the whole flu season. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Yeah, we're looking at a lot of that. Let's just pray God doesn't mutate all the strains to become airborne. We healthcare experts suspect several strains are already airborne. And they've written about it, academic articles on it. Yeah, research is hard to do because virus is so minuscule. You know, how do you study that thing, right? That's why it takes like decades to study viruses. Yeah, it's tragic what's happening in America. Yeah. I encourage you to go have fun in the summer, but don't take far away trips. You know, unless you have a vacation home somewhere that is like just for your family, that you can go to your vacation home for a week, 2 weeks, a month, have fun, you know, because if you have a private beach and a vacation home, I mean, you don't really have a problem, right? But if you don't have a private beach and private vacation home, then, you know, there's a problem. If you stay in a hotel, there's a problem, right? That's why I'm recommending you just take a day trip to minimize risks. But yeah, go have fun. Go to the mountains, go to the beach. Just make sure you stay 6 feet away from everybody. Wear your mask even if you're 6 feet away, just in case, because there are some strains that are airborne. Yeah, I mean, outside, you know, you're safer because sky is the ceiling and sky is the limit. Inside is where there's a serious problem. So don't go inside anywhere. Just stay outside. Yeah, when you go to the beach or the mountains, you know, bring bag lunch, you know, pack lunch, purchase like takeout on the way to wherever you're going, so you don't have to go in anywhere. Yeah, so yeah, have fun. I mean, you know, beach season is over on Monday, so go have fun at the beach. Make sure you socially distance. You know, if you plop down in a piece of land in the beach, you're going to be 6 feet away from everyone anyway. So, you know, there's really isn't that much risk. When you're walking, you know, it's like sky's the limit. You're not going to catch COVID walking in the beach where the sky is the limit, as long as you socially distance, right? Yeah. So, yeah, go have fun at the beach. Go to the mountains and have fun. Yeah, just don't go inside a bar or a cafe or a restaurant because that's inside. You know, the ceiling is low. You get COVID inside. Yeah, but just stay outside. You should be fine. Stay outside. Stay 6 feet away from everyone. You should be fine. Go have fun because by Christmas your child will be dead, maybe dead. If you're in Fairfax County, I mean, you know, maybe all of your children will be dead by Christmas. Yeah, I'm just trying to save your life and save the lives of your family members and relatives. So I'm bringing in the Bible to show you what's happening from a spiritual, theological angle. You should listen to my expert opinion, but you don't have. I mean, you're not a slave. Do what you want, but you're going to suffer the consequences of rejecting expert opinion. You can act against medical advice, AMA. You could go AMA on your hospital. You could go AMA against medical advice on your doctor. You're not going to live as long. Same thing here. You know, yeah. world death rate is rising as well. Like India, I mean, geez, it's tragic what's happening in India. People, they're like our country, there are over 1,000 people dying every day in India right now. Yeah, it's tragic. It's only happening in India. Nobody's dying in China. Nobody's like dying in like Korea or Taiwan or Japan. Just happening in India. They probably like, the Congress Party, which is like a liberal party. They well, they there are some politicians who really push gay rights in India, and it happened under Congress, so it kind of makes sense. Because as I said, Romans chapter 1 will be kept wherever around the world. We're not talking about afterlife here. We're talking about life on earth. God punishes people on earth for violating Romans 1. Doesn't matter whether you're born again or not. That's a separate issue. Because God punishes for breaking his law. That's what God's been doing since the beginning of time. And God's going to do that until Jesus Christ comes back. Yeah. So India, I understand why God's killing so many people in India, because homosexuality is tolerated in India, like liberal Hindus tolerate homosexuality. So it makes perfect sense to me why God is killing 1,000 per day in India, whereas God's not killing people in Pakistan, which is a Muslim country, which kills homosexuals. Yeah, because God's going to bless countries that keep God's law. God requires nations to deliver death penalty on homosexuals. Pakistan keeps God's law. So God's not going to kill massive number of people in Pakistan because Pakistan as a nation is keeping God's law. Romans chapter 1. I told you God works in patterned ways. God follows a pattern. God's pattern is predictable. That's why we say God is fair, God is just. Social justice of God is predictable. God says he's going to do X, Y, and Z, and he does it. That's why God's social justice is predictable. If you violate Romans chapter 1, according to God's rules of social justice, the wrath of God will come to your nation. It's simple. It's not that complicated. World now has 25,934,466 cases, and United States, it's about a fourth, 20 to 25%, right? So we have 6,113,160 cases. So we're like, maybe between 20 to 25%. If we compare the death, right, we're about between 20 to 25% as well, right? Or actually we may actually be a little bit less than 20% now. Because so many people are dying in India and Brazil and Mexico. We may be like under 20% death rate because there's 861,512 deaths. Our death rate is 185,704. So we dropped below 20% in terms of death rate, which is a promising thing. See, this is why comparison is good, right? Yeah, with India with 1,000 deaths per day, Brazil with 1,000 deaths per day, they take the burden off of America a little bit. So let's say we are at like what? 18%, that 100 million people die in the world, 18 million will die in America. So it's still not a good thing. Yeah, we'll see. Let's see. We'll do another anniversary show on October 2nd. Let's see. Wow, we're only a couple of months away from the election, November 3rd, 2020. Wow. Yeah, don't forget to vote for me on November 2nd, on November 3rd, 2020, the general election. Yeah. Wow, time flies. The question that I have in this 5-month anniversary show is, will COVID-19 kill cases kill millions in USA in flu season. Well, United States is trying to rush the vaccine, so that worries me. That means we have a higher chance of having a vaccine that fails. So it worries me because sometimes a rush job is a bad job. Sometimes taking your time is worth it, right? Because if you have a failed vaccine, you've already failed. So if you deliver the vaccine later and it works more effectively, it's probably not going to work 100%. It may not even be effective 80%. But if it can save, it could be the difference between millions of people. If the vaccine totally doesn't work, or if vaccine actually harms people, perfectly normal, healthy people can be harmed by the vaccine and become more vulnerable to COVID-19 because they had the vaccine. That's the worst case scenario. Like healthy people who not have gotten COVID will get COVID because of the vaccine, because of adverse effects that could happen. Yeah, that's a nightmare scenario. If you rush your vaccine, it may not be worth that. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, let's see. So that worries me. And Tin Man Joe worries me. Tin Man Joe wants to be like Trump, Tin Man Joe's like, we could open the school. We could open the school. I'm Tin Man Joe. I have no heart. Yeah, I'm just going to yield my axe. And just, I don't care how many children died. We could have opened our school. We could have opened our school. Tin Man Joe's an idiot. I don't know why anybody would vote for Tin Man Joe. Joe Biden is like an idiot candidate. I don't understand anyone who wants to vote for Joe. I mean, he's like a parrot. Well, he like mimics whatever President Trump does. Joe Biden's personal hero is probably President Trump. President Trump condemns the violence. Joe Biden condemns the violence. President Trump says open up schools. Joe Biden wants to open up schools. I mean, geez, is Joe Biden game plan to follow Trump every step, like stay one step behind and follow everything Trump does? Do you want a guy like that, a copycat for president? I mean, geez, at least everybody can agree in America that President Trump is original, right? Joe Biden, I mean, he's like senile and he's not original. He's just a copycatter. He copycats everything President Trump does. I mean, how are you going to trust a guy like that? He's not fit to be president of the United States, Joe Biden, because he's a copycat. Then he obviously worships President Trump. I mean, he's trying to do what President Trump was doing 2 months ago. You know what I'm saying? What an idiot. I mean, President Trump is original. Like, what President Trump said 2 months ago is what Joe Biden is saying now. Hey, Joe Biden, slowpoke, get with the program. I mean, jeez. I mean, you have if Joe Biden becomes president, we're probably going to have like 200 million people die for next flu season. Joe Biden doesn't know what he's doing. Maybe he's just basically repeating what Trump did like 2 months ago. What an idiot. Tin Man Joe without a heart wants to send our children all to death. Open up schools. I'm Tin Man Joe. Open up schools. I'm Tin Man Joe. I parrot President Trump. What he said 2 months ago, that's what I'm going to say now. I'm Tin Man Joe. I'm Tin Man Joe. That's Joe Biden. What an idiot. I have no respect for the man. He's like, idiot. I mean, I think Joe Biden got so used to parroting President Obama. He was like a perfect sidekick who parrots what President Obama does. Wherever he goes, like copycat President Obama. I think he's not able to get out of that mode, Joe Biden. So Joe Biden is like copycatting President Trump and everything. Because he needs like an alpha male. Like Joe Biden obviously is not an alpha male. He's a beta male. So yeah, he makes a good vice president because he's a yes man. Whoever is a president, he's yes man to whoever is a president, but he has no original thought of his own. He's just like copycats. So he's been in that role for 80 years under President Barack Obama, and he took on that sidekick role with a relish, Yeah, he has no originality. Yeah, so he says like he needs an alpha male, you know. Joe Biden's like, yeah, I've never seen him as an alpha male, you know, even before he was president, vice president. He doesn't act like alpha male now either. I mean, he would have probably lost the Democratic primaries if it weren't for like several key errors made by, you know, other candidates. Yeah, it's like he got defaulted in by the party. But obviously, Joe Biden's a beta male. And he's not an alpha male. Anyway, I'm not going to lie to you. And if I think he's an alpha male, I'm going to say it. I know President Trump is an alpha male. But, you know, he's always been an alpha male since the very beginning, you know, since his like University of Pennsylvania days, he was always alpha male. You know, I mean, yeah, some people like go back and forth from alpha male to beta males. You know, we have that case as well. But I don't think Joe Biden understands that he's supposed to act like an alpha male. I don't think he understands that. Just parroting what President Trump said 2 months ago, that just makes him look like a beta male, you know? I mean, if he wants to win the election, he has to look like he has his own ideas, you know? I mean, everybody knows what President Trump said 2 months ago. That's exactly what Joe Biden is saying now. I mean, who's going to think that he has originality? I mean, it's not like Democrat voters are stupid. Democrat voters are very smart. You know, a lot of working class Americans are smarter than like wealthy Americans. You know, because they have to like fight to live, fight to survive. And everyone knows what President Trump said 2 months ago, whether you agreed with him or not. I disagree with him. You know, I said school should not open up. I said school should go 100% online. Right? I disagree with President Trump. I still do. But you know, I recognize he's an alpha male. You know, but you know, this Joe Biden. You know, he doesn't know what he's saying. I mean, he doesn't make sense at all. He criticized Trump, but he's following what President Trump wanted to do 2 months ago. At least President Trump has evolved. You know, I mean, this Joe Biden is like 2 months behind. Do you want an idiot like that to be your president? I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. I mean, like, I don't know who he has in his staff, but they might be like, you know, I don't know what they're on, but maybe they missed last 2 months, you know. It's like deja vu, repeat of like what President Trump said 2 months ago. It's just like weird. Biden acting like that is really weird. You know what I'm saying? It is weird as heck. I mean, Biden is weird as heck. I think he's going senile, to be honest with you. I think Biden is going senile. I mean, who repeats stuff that your opponent did 2 months ago unless you're senile? I mean, there are a lot of older adult individuals who are sharp and bright. I mean, President Trump is, you know, isn't he like as old as Joe Biden? He's sharp and, you know, he's kind of sharp, and he's really sharp. But, you know, Joe Biden is like a little bit, I don't know, he's kind of slow. Slow Joe. Slow Tin Man Joe. Yeah, I don't get it. Yeah, so children's inflammatory disease symptoms, you see what children suffer. So that's something that you may see your children suffering in the flu season. We have 10% of the cases now are children, and 86 death, because it happened after the first peak, right? Children were not getting infected with COVID, right? And then you had the New York virus in New York starting like at the tail end of the first peak. So, you know, you had a few deaths then, and then you had death throughout summer. Yeah, the flu season, a lot of thousands of children would die in every state. You know, that's expected. If 86 can die in summer, or, you know, close to 86 can die in summer during flu season, now you can expect a lot of death. I think that's something that healthcare experts understand. As more time passes, healthcare experts are beginning to see that thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of children will die in America. I think healthcare experts are beginning to see that. Yeah, it's sad. It's unfortunate. Obviously, I created this show to save you and your children from COVID-19. So don't forget to watch this show every day. Keep up with what's happening. As you know, Heerak Christian Kim, independent candidate for U.S. Congress, does not believe in fake news, especially slow poke fake news that's like 2 months behind, like rerun Joe, slow poke Joe, Tin Man Joe, slow Joe. Yeah, I just do not believe in the fake news coming out of slow Joe, Tin Man Joe. Yeah, I don't see any authenticity. Like Biden doesn't seem authentic to me. Like he's like reading out a teleprompter or something, you know? He's like, I think his wife tells him what to say. You know, Joe Biden? Because Joe Biden is like, I'm an educator. I'm going to tell Joe Biden what to say. He's going to say it. I'm going to treat him like a fifth grader. You know? Oh, you know, Joe Biden, she's something, isn't she? You know, I would honestly, Joe Biden isn't an asset to Joe Biden. Joe Biden is probably the reason why Joe Biden is you know, 2 months behind President Trump. You know, yeah, I mean Joe Biden, I don't think she knows what she's doing. Yeah, but I bet like Joe Biden listens to Joe Biden and everything, like follows her like a little puppy. Did you remember like a Democratic National Convention show when Joe Biden like went and followed his wife like around like a puppy, like a little puppy? Yeah, I'm just, it's another side of being a better male. Like if you see like President Trump and his wife, I mean, obviously President Trump's wife, she's an amazing woman, very independent, has a lot of great ideas. She's pretty. I mean, Joe Biden is pretty too. You know, I give you that. But you know, President Trump doesn't follow his wife like a little puppy. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, alpha males do not follow their women like little puppies. That's a sure sign of a guy not being an alpha male if he like follows a girl like a little puppy. And women don't like that either. Women don't like guys who like follow them like a little puppy. No, I'm serious. I'm an alpha male, so I know. You know, I dated some of the most beautiful women in the world. Literally, I've dated models, billionaires, you know, you name it. I've dated women of all different races, ethnic groups. Well, not all ethnic groups, but all races. Yeah, I mean, you know, like the most beautiful in every ethnic group. Or not ethnic group, race. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, jeez. Oh, Beta Joe, Beta Tin Man. No, Beta Tin Man doesn't go. Beta Joe, Beta Joe. Beta Joe could stick. Beta Joe, Beta Joe, Beta Joe, Beta Joe. Anyway, yeah, I'm glad that you joined me for today's show. Yeah, tune in tomorrow. I'll bring you more information that contradicts the liberal media, because liberal media is fake news. Why do you think we have 1 million people dying every day, or 1,000 people dying every day? We have 1,000 people dying every day because of the fake news. CNN's giving you fake news, right? If our news were more objective and provided accurate information, we shouldn't have that many people dying. But no, our media is fake news. Yeah, our media is part of the problem. It's not part of the solution. Yeah, it's sad. It's unfortunate, but it's true. Yeah. Anyway, I haven't gone like several days without CNN, and it feels so good. I feel so relaxed. Fake news stresses me out, you know. Yeah. Anyway, Yeah, stop watching CNN. You'll feel better. You know. Yeah, go have fun with your children this weekend. I mean, take a day trip. You start out from Arlington around 5 or 6 a.m. You could be in Virginia Beach. You could do the scenic thing. You could go. Ocean City's closer. There's the beach in Delaware. I heard that. Claire Paoletta, my fellow CNL member, said there's a beach like closer than that. Yeah, so you could do some research. Oh yeah, CNL 2020, CNL 2020. Oh, I should tell you, I passed my NCLEX RN. I tweeted it out in my tweet account, and we have a group chat, Clinical Nurse Leader 2020. Oh, I love you guys. I miss you guys. So, CNL 2020, we officially graduated, and our official transcript shows that we graduated on August 24, 2020. Yeah, I mean, our courses were done way before then, but, yeah, but anyway, I was the first one to take NCLEX RN out of 25 clinical nurse leaders who graduated officially on August 24, 2020. I took my NCLEX RN exam on August 31. It was so hard. Oh my gosh. It was so hard. Oh my gosh. I mean, I can't even begin to tell you how hard it was. Oh my gosh. I mean, as you know, Virginia Hospital Center, my employer, they bought me this online, NCLEX RN program. So I faithfully did the program and finished the program. And it was so hard. I mean, that was hard too, and human resources, they told me that that every nursing graduate who gets hired by Virginia Hospital Center gets this online course for free to help prepare for NCLEX RN. So, I mean, I have to thank you, Colleen, because because I was gonna purchase a program like what was it, UWorld or YouTube or UWorld or something like that. It was like $140. I'm like, geez, I just borrowed $200,000 from Georgetown University Clinical Nurse Leader program. With interest, it's like $500,000. I have to pay back for 30 years. Like I have to pay like cough up $140 more to prepare for NCLEX RN. And I was like, shoot, and yeah, so so I'm glad Virginia Hospital Center, paid for my online prep course for NCLEX RN. I mean, I guess they do it for everybody that they hire, but I'm thankful. Thank you, Virginia Hospital Center. Because that I didn't have to pay for any class. I need online. I didn't. Yeah. So I did take the practice test. I did purchase an authentic practice test that is offered by NCLEX RN, like Lisbon. Like the accrediting body. The body that gives you the license. No, actually, license is given by State Board of Nursing, but the I guess the official organization that administers the NCLEX RN test, they make the test, they score the test, and then they send the score to State Board of Nursing. So I took the 2 practice tests. I think I paid like $180 for 2 practice tests. I'm like, geez, these are the most expensive practice tests I've like taken, but they're authentic. 100% of the questions on the practice tests are from actual NCLEX RN exams. So, I'm like, well, I don't want to cough up any money, but this is like a serious exam. I mean, NCLEX RN. So, I mean, I didn't have to pay for like another like UWorld or whatever it is, but I should take authentic practice tests just to see how I do. I got 99% on the practice, a predictor NCLEX RN test, in June, or was it May? So I mean, I was confident I would pass in May. But my fellow core members was far harder than the predictor test. Oh my gosh, it doesn't even compare. Yeah, and I have to be honest with you. I don't want to knock down the free. Well, it wasn't free. Virginia Hospital Center paid for it, but the online course that the Virginia Hospital Center paid for to prepare for NCLEX RN. Oh, the real one was so much harder than the online preparatory course. I haven't done New World, so I don't know. I used what was it? I used NCLEX RN textbook during the summer for my 300 practice questions. I know some of my colleagues use New World stuff, but I purchased the book and it has 2,000 questions. So I'm like, we have to do 300 questions, 300 questions, 300 questions. That's 900 questions. I have like over 2,000 questions in this book. So, so I just used the book that I had. So I'm trying to save money, I bought the book, a while ago. But yeah. Anyway, I didn't get to do all the questions in every book that I have, like, like that book with 2,100 questions. I might have done all of it, but like Virginia Hospital Center paid for my course, and they had like 2,000 questions. I didn't get to do all the questions on that. I did all the mandatory required stuff, like all the review stuff, but they had like optional 2,000, like 1,700 questions or whatever. I only got to do like what, 1/3 of it. Because I mean, there just isn't time to do all of it. But yeah, who cares? I passed NCLEX RN, But I have to say, oh, it was so hard. Oh my God, it was so hard. Oh, the real one. Oh my gosh, it was hard. I mean, the 2 practice tests I recommend, because I know all of you are watching this show. My fellow COVID-19, my fellow COVID-19 cohort members, which is true, COVID-19 started in our cohort. I mean, it started in our, proceeding, or, the cohort that follows us, as well. So, but, yeah, I mean, but, CNL 2020 cohort, we're like COVID-19 cohort, but yeah, I recommend all of you take the practice test. You actually have to like register and take it. And I think actually people who administer NCLEX RN, they actually see your results and stuff like that too. But these are actual questions that were used in previous NCLEX, and you have to agree to not share the questions. These were actually questions used. And I don't know if they repeat questions or not. I don't think they do, but anyway, you can't share the questions, even the practice tests, But yeah, it looks exactly kind of like structurally, it looks like it. So I'm glad I took it for 3 reasons. Number one, because the format is exactly the same as the real one. Or not exactly the same, but similar, like very closely aligned. So, you felt like, oh, this is like, oh, same, I've done, because I took 2 practice tests, right? $180 for 2 practice tests, authentic practice tests with 100% actual NCLEX questions, like people who make NCLEX, right? Because like preparatory courses, they're trying to approximate it, right? But it's not exactly the same, So, so yeah, and I took the first one. Oh my gosh, it was so hard. It was so hard. And I got the result and I was like shocked. I was like, oh my gosh. so I start like losing sleep. I start after the first practice test, I just like start cramming stuff in, because I was like, oh no, I have to pass this thing, after 2 years. I mean, geez. I I mean I was like 100% confident I was going to pass in June when I got 99%. And then I took the actual practice test that, with actual questions from previous NCLEX RN that Nisbin, the people who make the NCLEX RN exam made. And I was like, oh my gosh, I started doubting. I was like, oh no, maybe I'm not as prepared as I should be, I was like, look at the score. I'm like, oh my gosh, wait a minute. So I start like cramming. I start working really, really hard, like reviewing everything. I actually went through every single MedSurg issue. Yes, after my first practice test, I got so nervous. I mean, because I got 99% of the predictor test, but the predictor test is ATI testing, which is considered one of the best, if not the best, to prepare for NCLEX RN. And it's a program that like almost all the nursing programs use. It's like the course itself is like $600-700, and Georgetown University paid for it, thank God. It's not included in our tuition, but the School of Nursing paid for it. And it's a smart thing. You want to pay for stuff like that so people pass the NCLEX RN. I mean, Professor Elizabeth Schloss, Professor Idioma Yerwin, they're the ones who guided us during the summer with NCLEX RN exam prep, especially Professor Schloss, Elizabeth Schloss. Definitely pay for the ATI, because that definitely helps, I mean, it's worth the investment because I mean, nursing students passing NCLEX RN is critical to maintaining accreditation. Some schools lose accreditation because the students don't pass. I said definitely keep paying for that stuff for, following cohort members, because it's definitely an investment, but I went through like every single MedSurg subject area. I kid you not. It's like equivalent to like 1,100 pages. I took every practice question for every section, including the cancer sections, including perioperative, preoperative, postoperative, what's equivalent to 1,100 pages. Every single issue that could be covered by nursing. For ATI. After I took my first practice test, that was official practice test, that was administered by Nisbin, people who actually design NCLEX exam. I was kind of shocked at my practice test score, the first one. I went through that 1,000 pages, 1,100 pages. I mean, I wasn't going to, but I looked at the score and I was like, I'm not going to flunk this thing, Jeez. So I just like, I was like staying up and I like work so hard. I like work like a dog, on that. So I think about it, 1,100 pages, what's equivalent to 1,100 pages of it? The whole MedSurg section on ATI. MedSurg is medical surgical. That's the foundation of nursing, right? They have some questions from mental health nursing. They have some questions from pediatric and mother-baby nursing, But MedSurg actually covers like a lot of the maternal side as well. And that's like the brunt of it. And I said, man, obviously if I had more time, I would have probably gone through the whole mental health and also pediatric nursing and mother pregnancy, the maternity nursing, sections of ATI, whole thing. I would have probably done that too. But, I had limited time and I going through that 1,000 pages took me 3 days. It took me 3 days, literally 3 solid days. 3 solid days. Like you wake up until you sleep. For 3 solid days. Except obviously I provide you this service. So, while preparing for my NCLEX RN exam, after that first practice test, I'm like, hey, this is my priority. I have to pass this exam. So, I was like 100% confident in June. And then after that practice test, I'm like, geez, this is hard. That's just practice test. The official practice test was really hard. So, yes, I went through 1,000 pages of NCLEX RN stuff. Thank God. I mean, I think that's why I passed. I mean, had I not done that, I mean, you cannot speculate because I did it. I went through 1,100 pages equivalent, every single question, practice question on a med surg section, medical surgical nursing section. Yeah, medical surgical nursing is what you use in the hospital. And medical surgical nursing is what you use in a, like medical offices. That's basically what nurses do. If you go to pediatric section, like children, obviously, certain things are a little bit different. You need to understand what the differences are. But it's human bodies are human bodies. So, you don't really matter differences. So that's why I think I made the right, like 3 solid days. I just like allocated just for this NCLEX earnings. I'm glad that I did that because I passed. So I took the NCLEX RN exam on Monday, August 31. I was going to share that with you. Like, I was going to say I'm going to take it on August. But after the first practice test, I was like, what if I tell all my viewers I'm going to take it on August 31? I was like, man, oh my gosh. 3 solid days of doing nothing but stuff. Well, not nothing, because I obviously I have to try to save your life from COVID. So I, except for this, nothing else other than that. Yeah, I passed. Thank God. Yes, clapping for me. My mom sent me a text with clapping. Oh, I deserve to pass that thing. I worked so hard on that. I mean, I had 99% pass chance rate according to ATI testing in May. I think it was May. It might have been June. Our first predictor test. Yeah. And I was like 100% confident I could pass it, at that time. But yeah, you have to take the practice test, actual one designed by NCLEX RN, and then they give you a score, like an official score that they would, Yeah, definitely worth it. Oh, thank God I did that. I was like $180 for 2 tests, and I wasn't gonna do it. And then I'm like, no, I better do it. I think God changed my mind because, it's like that's a lot of money. But I mean, can you imagine? Oh, not passing your exam. Oh, that's like a whole lot of pain. I wonder how many people are flunking and NCLEX RN exam during COVID-19 period. I bet there's a lot of people flunking. Because I'm seeing these tweets from other nursing schools that are saying like, our students, 100% of our students passed NCLEX RN in 3 out of the 4 previous years. I'm like, what? 3 out of the 4? Why is it 3 out of the 4? Why isn't it 4 out of the 4? It's because of this year. Yeah, I think a lot of nursing students are flunking their NCLEX RN exam this year because of COVID-19. Because you can't go to the library and study for NCLEX RN. You can't go to Kaplan in person and have them review it for you. So it's kind of, you have to like transition to online learning, and everything is like different now. So I think most nursing programs like don't have 100% pass rate this year. I mean, I guess it's understandable, right? When you go from in person to 100% online, like suddenly, right? The first year, people are going to suffer the most. As long as you go 100% online and you maintain it, the following year, students are going to do well. But the first year, the transition year is always the hardest. Yes, I don't blame all these amazing nursing programs that generally has 100% pass rate all the time, having like flunking students in COVID-19 America, 2020 America. I mean, it's totally understandable. I hope everybody passes in my cohort, but as I said, I got 3.528 on my GPA from clinical nurse leader program, 2-year program. That's an A- average. So I'm one of the smarter ones in my program. I don't want to say smarter ones, but I work very hard and I achieve. And it was really hard for me. Like it was, oh my gosh. I mean, the practice test, you have to take it because the real one is actually, I thought the real one was harder than the practice one. Really. I don't know. I don't know if they make the, you know, someone told me that they make NCLEX RN harder and harder every year. I don't know if it's true or not. I believe it because the real one, like real one that I took on Monday, August 31st, that was much harder than the two practice tests. Yeah, both of them combined. Um, yeah, but you know, oh geez, I had such a bad night of sleep the night before the NCLEX RN, you know. It was like 8 a.m. exam. It was like ungodly early time in the morning. I was like, who takes exam at 8 a.m. for God's sake? But it was like, that was the only time I could go and take the test, 8 a.m. And I checked like 5 different test centers to see if they have something in the afternoon. None of them. Everything was like 8 a.m. I was like, oh my gosh. So yeah, so I went and you know, took the test in Washington D.C. because they had the most number of opportunities, and I wanted to take it as soon as possible. And the earliest possibility for me to take it, there's no testing place in Arlington for NCLEX RN, but there's one in Alexandria, and I think another one is in Fairfax County. There's like one in Alexandria, one in Fairfax County, at least like when I was checking. Um, and the earliest date I could take it, I think was like September 10th. Or like it was either September 10th or yeah, September 10th for both Fairfax County and Alexandria Testing Center, Pearson View Testing Center. So I'm like, I don't want to wait until then. You know, this was like when I was feeling 100% confident I'll pass. You know, when I got my ATT authorization test and I was like feeling confident. And I was like, hey, I'm just going to take this because I feel confident I'm going to pass. So I like wanted to take it much earlier. And I had to find like available seating, right? So, and you know, I figured like I should probably, you know, make sure I review stuff and so you know I gave you know so basically you know yeah so I basically you know took the practice test and then you know prepared really intensively you know with my medical surgical ATI preparatory book. Yeah, ATI is really good. Um, so yeah, and the night before, I was still nervous, you know, because it was like, oh, because I only covered, you know, medical surgical nursing, 3 days, 1,100 pages worth of stuff. Um, I didn't really get to cover like mental health nursing. I had an A- on mental health nursing class. Um, and I couldn't cover pediatrics, you know, ATI books, you know, because there's limited time. And I chose my testing date before I took my practice test. I guess it was good that I did that because if I took the practice test before I scheduled my testing date, I probably would have you know, like scheduled for like September 10th, you know, because but I scheduled the test before I took my practice test, coughed up $180 to take the 2 practice tests. I think it was good that I did that because had I taken the practice test, I would not have taken it on August 31st. And I had to be totally honest with you. Yeah, I would have taken it like September 10th. Um, yeah, but I'm glad I scheduled it because all's well that ends well. I passed, you know. But oh my gosh, you know, I said, you know, test is going to be at 8 a.m. I set my clock for 4:40 because just in case there's traffic or some kind of car accident or I have a car problem or whatever, I was going to go there, you know, early enough. So I set my alarm for 4:40, and I'm like, I have to get a good night's sleep. So I'm going to go to bed like at 9 p.m. So I get like full 8 hours, you know, like 8 hours of sleep, close to it. And I fell asleep because I was tired. You know, there's a lot of studying, right? And I woke up at 11 p.m. after 2 hours of sleep. I don't know. I thought I heard some people knocking on the door. I don't think it was my door. I think it was like my neighbor's door. But like, you know, like modern day buildings have like thin walls, right? You hear like everything that everybody's saying, like your neighbors are saying. Which is like weird. I don't know if they know or not, but you know, like this normal voice conversation, you hear it, and you're like, oh my god. But yeah, I don't know if they're like, you know, I don't know what the wall's made up of. You know, because like when I was living in Philadelphia in buildings that were like 100 years plus old, like you couldn't hear anything like in the next door, you know. But yeah, the walls must be very thin, you know. I don't know what material it is, you know, um, but anyway, I woke up at 11 and I want to go back to sleep, right? But you know, like you wake up, it's hard to go back to sleep. And then you're like, whoa, you know, some of the questions from the practice test are like flooding in. And I was like, oh my gosh. You know, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't look forward to tomorrow at 8 a.m. when, you know, all these difficult questions are going to come up. Oh, yeah. Oh my gosh, it was so hard. The actual test was so hard. I mean, it did not disappoint. I was expecting a really hard exam, and it was really hard. But you know, so I'm like, I awake at 11, right? And then I'm like, it's hard to fall asleep. Um, and I'm like, and then I fall asleep, and then wake up again like at 1 or 2. Like, geez, I'm like tossing and turning. And then, you know, like I'm like staying, like I'm trying to fall asleep. I couldn't go back to sleep for like a couple hours. You know, I'm like counting sheep, you know, and then, and I'm reminiscing about all the happy things we did, you know. I was trying to say happy things we did, and well, actually, we had some happy memories, you know, like Halloween party, um, you know, at Meredith Goodrich's home, you know, in DC, our first Halloween party was fun. It's a happy memory. So I was thinking about that, and my core members that, you know, I really like, and you know, and so, you know, yeah, and like the beautiful women that I spent time with at Parma de Mallorca. Spent a lot of time thinking about them, and yeah, but you know, so you know, I was thinking about a happy place, and then I thought I'd just like drift in sleep, but I didn't, you know, and then I think I might have drifted into sleep like maybe like near 3 or something. I don't know. I wasn't looking at the clock. And then you know, and then I woke up to my alarm. And then I drove, and there really wasn't traffic. So I arrived 2 hours early. Yeah, I was there like by 6. Like I think I was there before 6. But thankfully they had, no, it might have been a little bit after 6. But anyway, they had Starbucks, and my parking structure was underneath the hotel. I'm like, thank God for Washington, D.C. Like, it would not have happened in any other city. Because it's DC, I parked underneath. They're like, if you enter before 9 a.m., it's $15 if you exit by 6 p.m. And I was like, look at the clock. It was like, you know, like 6 a.m. ish. I'm like, oh, I'm saving on the parking. But I mean, you know, the exam starts at 8, so I would have saved on the parking anyway. But so I parked, and then it was really big underground parking. And then I went up to Starbucks, order my coffee, you know, and I was sitting there like in the hotel lobby for like an hour, you know. I'm like, I should have brought my study card, you know. I didn't bring anything because I thought, you know, I mean, I thought there would be traffic, you know, or whatever. But yeah, there was like no traffic, so I was there like in 15 minutes. Yeah, I expected to like spend an hour in traffic or whatever. Arrive around 7-ish, and then park, and then I walk up to the testing center, and it would be open. So like after like spending an hour, at the hotel lobby, and I was the only one there, I don't even know if they had any guests. It's like a big hotel in DC. I didn't see anybody around. I don't know if there are any guests. I'm sure there are some guys somewhere, but I don't know. But the whole lobby was open. So, I walked over to the testing center, and it was like 7 a.m. I think they opened at 7, 1 hour before the test. They're like, no, it opens at 7:15. So I went in and waited in the lobby, and then like people start trickling in, and they have all these note cards, and they're like all studying like feverishly. I was like just sitting there, like chill, like thinking, and I'm like, I should have brought some of my memory cards or study cards. It's just like counting, like looking at the building, I'm like, oh, it's pretty nice, interesting, windows. Oh, I like that sofa. Oh, that plant is kind of neat. I was like, for 15 minutes, like, I didn't have anything else to do. And then, I walked up to the testing center, and yeah, and then they checked us in, and I thought it was only going to be NCLEX RN people, but no, it was like a lot of different people taking different tests. So besides me, I think there was, because they said, if you're taking this test, raise your hand. If you're taking this test, raise your hand. So I raised my hand when that's like, who's taking NCLEX RN? So I raised my hand. And there was like only one other person taking NCLEX RN. Yeah, besides me. And then there were like 27 people in the room. They're all taking different tests. Some of the tests I've never heard of. So they're all administered by Pearson VUE. It's like a Pearson VUE center. Yeah. So I was like, oh my gosh, yeah. Thank God. Thank God I passed. Thank God Almighty that I passed. But, it was such a hard exam. I was hoping that I passed, obviously. But to be perfectly honest with you, I wasn't sure. Like after I finished the test, I was like, I think I answered them right. But it was that hard. It was really, really hard. Apparently I answered them right, thank God. I answered them right. That's why I passed, obviously. But yeah, I mean, yeah, thank God. It was hard. Oh. Oh gosh, so yeah, I passed. Yay! Yay! Heerak passed his NCLEX RN exam. I passed. Yay! I passed my NCLEX RN exam. I passed my NCLEX RN exam. Oh gosh, I feel like I could, I feel so relaxed and loosey-goosey. I took a walk today. I have some of the photos from today, like posted on my Twitter account. Yeah, check it out. Yeah. But yeah, I'm so glad I passed, and oh gosh, that was a hard exam. But I'm so glad. I hope everybody passes my court. But it's hard. It's hard. Yeah. I wonder if Professor Idioma Yearwood is worried, or Professor Elizabeth Schloss. I wonder if they're worried like several people will fail. I wonder. Yeah, I wonder how the BSNs did. Bachelor's of Science in Nursing. They also take NCLEX RN exam. They graduated in May. I wonder if like 100% of them passed. 26 of them were pinned. Like 25 clinical nurse leader were Masters of Science in Clinical Nurse Leader. It's a 2-year intensive program. 25 of us were pinned at the same time in the same ceremony as Bachelor's of Science in Nursing, PSNs. Their program is 4 years long. And obviously our courses are at the master's level, so they're at the higher level. Requirements are higher. But they take NCLEX RN as well. Generally, I believe 100% of them pass, generally. I wonder if, all 26 of them passed. I wouldn't doubt it if some of them fail. It's really hard. I mean, and, not just the fact that the test exam is hard. I mean, just the whole, going online, you cannot take like a Kaplan class, or Princeton review, right? So there are a lot of limitations. Like I remember talking to Nicholas Oyer. He is in a cohort before this, cohort CNL 2019, where Megan LeSavage was the president. And Megan LeSavage, you know, her cohort, I know they, I think Megan told me that most of them took like, they paid like hundreds of dollars. I think it was over $500 for that course. What do you call that? Not Princeton Review, Kaplan's. Yeah, I think they took Kaplan's course, and I think the previous course they were required to pay for and take Kaplan's class if they didn't get a certain percentage on their predictor test. I got 99%, so even under, had I been in Megan LeSavage, she was the president of Graduate Student Nurses Association in year 2019, academic year, 2018 to 2019. She's the president. Even had I been on that cohort, I would not have had to pay for and take Kaplan's because I had 99% on my predictor test. But for those people who didn't have, who had below a certain percentage, it might have been 95% or maybe 91%, they had to pay for and take the Kaplan preparatory course for NCLEX. And that's like, what, $500, maybe $800? And then you have to, I think you have to physically go to like classes. Like, you know, so it's like, you know, like, I don't know, 100 hours or 50 hours, like, time consuming. But, you know, like passing NCLEX RN is that important, obviously, because you need to pass NCLEX RN to practice as a nurse. So that's why Georgetown University takes it seriously. And I remember talking to Nicholas Oyer. He was one of the like 3 males in the previous cohort. And Nicholas was saying, yeah, I think he took the Kaplan's class too. I think he said it was really time consuming. It was expensive. Yeah, but like, I think everybody took it. I mean, I thought Nicholas Oyer said everybody took it. Even people who had like high percentage, they ended up taking it because they wanted to pass NCLEX RN. So during summer, they were like seriously going to Kaplan's. Like, I think they were physically going to Kaplan's and taking this class alongside with other stuff. And they're like spending time in library, like preparing for NCLEX. So that's why like 100%, I think 100% of them passed. Yeah, but you know, like, I don't think any of us took Kaplan. Like, we couldn't physically go to Kaplan, right? I was kind of worried about having to pay like $800 for a prep class. So I'm like, all's well that ends well, you know. Virginia Hospital said to pay for my class. So I didn't even have to pay for like UWorld or whatever it was. And certainly I didn't have to pay for my, you know, any other classes, you know. But yeah, I mean, because, you know, because like, I don't think any of my core members are taking Kaplan. I don't know. You know, I guess, you know, it'd be kind of interesting to know if 100% passed the 100% of the 26 PSNs passed the NCLEX RN. I wonder. You can't really ask Professor here, what about that? You know, you know. But I'm curious though. I want to ask and find out. You know, but you can't really. You know, those are information like you gotta wait until they volunteer it if they ever do. And you know, yeah. But I'm kind of curious now. You know, if PSN students, 26 of them, all of them passed. If not, I wonder like how many of them did not pass. You know, because if we know that stat, then we'll kind of be able to predict maybe how many will not pass among the CNLs. I wonder if 100% pass. I wonder. You know, I'm curious now. You know, it seems like a lot of nursing programs around in America, 100% did not pass that normally pass. So, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. But yeah, I mean, it's yeah. Yeah, I mean, I wish you guys well, you know. I wish you well. I wish you well. Pass the NCLEX. Pass the NCLEX. Yeah. Yeah, I love you guys. I hope all of you pass NCLEX. Yeah, I'm glad to be the first one to take it and pass. Hopefully, this I'll set a trend. I was the first one to take national certification exam for clinical nurse leader out of 25 core members, and I passed. Yeah, so I guess both exams, I was the first one to take it in my cohort and first one to pass. So, what do you know? Anyway, yeah. Um, I'm so glad that I passed. I mean, I can't say that enough. Oh my gosh. Oh, this is like 2 years of weight lifted off of my shoulders. Um, yeah. Oh gosh. Passing that on class, that's like monumental, you know? Oh, I'm excited. Yeah. I got a lot of congratulations from people. Um, yeah, so I was really happy to uh, hear, get all these congratulations. I got several of my colleagues, my work colleagues, my co-workers and work colleagues from District of Columbia Public Schools sent me congratulations on passing my NCLEX RN exam. Um, I had some fellow delegates to National Federation, AFT, um, convention in Pittsburgh. I was a delegate for Local 6. And several of my, fellow delegates, uh, texted me congratulations as well. Several of my fellow UCLA alumni texted me congratulations, University of Pennsylvania alumni. Matthias from UCLA, who's like in a leadership team. Yeah, congratulated me. And yeah, so, oh, and yeah, and fellow teacher from Wakefield High School, he texted me, he's like, he's been a teacher in Arlington Public Schools for like 20 years, I think, or is it, yeah, around 20 years, been teaching math. So he and we taught math together, at Wakefield High School in summer of 2018. Um, he taught, I think, higher level, like class. I taught uh, mostly ESL students, English as second language, because I'm a licensed ESL teacher in Virginia. So, and I'm licensed to teach algebra and math. So I had because I'm a licensed English as second language teacher, so I got all the like English as second language students. But I had students who were not English as second language students, like white Americans born in the USA. But yeah, so he congratulated me. I was like, yeah, he's a beautiful wife. They're such a cute couple. And yeah, so like people have been like sending congratulations. Oh, Sean Lanahan, the chair of the Alexandria Republican Committee, sent me congratulations. And manga power, Virginia, Virginia, Virginia 11th District official Republican candidate for U.S. Congress running against what's his name? Jerry Connolly. Manga power. Yeah, she called and left a message congratulating me. I was like, oh, I should call back. I forgot to call back. It's like like too late to call now. But yeah, thanks, Manga, for congratulating me on passing my NCLEX RN. Yeah, so I had like whole slew of people, in Virginia Republican Party leadership, candidates running for various positions, congratulate me. Yeah, so it's a good day, Yeah. Yeah. I passed. I passed. Yay! I passed. Um, yeah. Um, yeah. So oh well. Yeah. Oh gosh. Huh. It does feel good. I mean, it feels good to have passed, I was just like thinking about it and reflecting on it. It actually does feel really good. Yeah. Um, yeah. Anyway, yeah. So, yeah. Anyway, yeah. I'm enjoying my happy moment, passing my NCLEX RN. Yeah. Um, yeah, I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. I'll have some more information available to you about COVID-19 and how to survive COVID-19. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are going to die in Virginia, unfortunately, during the flu season. Yeah, so you do need to watch this show every day. Um, yeah, I'll try to save you and your children's family by giving some, guidance and, insights and important information that you're not going to ever get from CNN, liberal media, that you need to survive COVID-19. Yeah. So yeah, check back tomorrow. Yeah, if you get COVID-19, come to Virginia Hospital Center. Maybe I'll treat you. There are a lot of nurses and stuff in Virginia Hospital Center, but you may luck out and get treated by me. So, yeah. Anyway, yeah, I guess I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. And yeah, see you tomorrow. I'm going to bid you adieu. Bye.